How did you learn about Live Ultimate?
I learned about Live Ultimate through Instagram. I had seen of just a collection of people that I followed, and they, using the product, right? I didn't know that Live Ultimate was a network marketing company at the time, even though Live Ultimate was existing within the network marketing like business model at the time. And what else? And then it wasn't until I joined Live Ultimate unknowingly. So I've always been really open to making money outside of work because I was still working within like the construction industry. So it was actually Andrew Weingart, who we all know and
Oh,
love,
shout out to shout
yeah,
out to
shout out to
Andrew.
Andrew, who, just he's the one that had enough confidence to just post about it a lot. And I don't even know how I ended up following him, just because
Yeah.
at the time I would just follow anybody that had any sort of semblance of interest in the same stuff that I was into. So Andrew
Wow.
did a lot of yoga stuff. I think he made a trip to like Nepal or something like that, and I was really intrigued by that. And so I think that's how I ended up following. But he made a post about just making money online, and that was something that I was very interested in, just because I've been looking to transition out of corporate America for a while. So upon getting the job and making decent money, XYZ, I just realized that I don't belong in an
Yeah.
office. And it also comes from my
And you want to
artistic background.
diversify too. You want to have multiple income streams ideally to be, balanced, so not all eggs are in
Absolutely.
one basket. And also health. Why not make money being healthy? So
I
speaking of
agree.
being healthy, Live Ultimate, what's your favorite product for the nutritionals? And what do you think about, well, let's go through nutritionals first. What's your favorite nutritional if you had to pick one?
If I had to pick one, I would definitely pick the Ultimate Shrooms.
Awesome.
Yeah, and so absolutely, and it has nothing to do with your background. It's just that
Nothing.
the sourcing is very important. So what a little bit more of a background story on Live Ultimate was the reason that I joined Live Ultimate was because of the sourcing. The sourcing became of utmost importance. That was one of the most important things that I learned, mainly because of the fact that these products are coming from a lab somewhere, and and then the product is grown somewhere else on the other side
Sure.
of the planet, and so you need a guarantee. You have to establish a guarantee as to where it's from, and also what kind of compounds exist on
Yeah.
or within the product that have nothing to do with the product themselves. And so we're
How was
talking
it
about,
processed? Well, first, how was it grown? True, but
yeah, first, how is it
yeah.
grown? How is it
This is an
processed?
actual picture here of one of our organic reishi hoop houses in the mountains. So
Yeah,
you can
it's
see they get
beautiful.
sunlight. They have peat soil. They have plants growing in there with them. It's organic, fresh air, fresh water. Every single mushroom in our blend, in our elixir and shrooms, is hand cut. Every single mushroom is hand cut, we were told and promised. Fair trade, organic, third party tested. Me, I
Well,
love the
yeah.
mushrooms,
Well, and you know
but
what? And
yeah,
one of these
so
days
proud of them.
we're going to travel there, and we're going to meet those
Yes,
people, and
absolutely. We were
we're
going to
going to
go
make
last
sure that they're
year.
doing their job,
Yep.
right?
Yeah, that's a
And
big
so,
goal for us.
right. And so anyway, as I always like to say, I definitely have trust issues when it comes to ordering a product that comes from very far away, and also the amount of cost for it. So, we were talking about earlier how, like, a functional medicine doctor, you're paying out of pocket, and that's a very high cost for a visit. And so, as such, it's the same with, all of these botanical products, like these more holistic products, these supplements, they cost a lot of money. So, if I'm going to spend the money, then that means that there's a certain amount of criteria that have to be met. Like there's no compromise there. And so third party testing is absolutely imperative. Why? Because even if something has an organic label on it, it could still have significant traces of pesticides and herbicides. Uh, we should all know by now that glyphosate is an issue. I think anybody that's probably watching this video would know that glyphosate is a very toxic compound for human beings. And not only that, for plants too, because it's a plant killer. And
It's the
so,
most common herbicide in the U.S. It's called Roundup. It's used on corn and soy and every single wheat. It's in children's cereal. The EWG measured it in Cheerios, off the chart levels. It goes into your stomach, activates, kills all your microbes, and it just wrecks your gut. And glyphosate, I used to use it as a forester in my previous life. And I'm a big anti-glyphosate person because it just isn't needed. you can use biological defenses, you can use organic methods. And it's just
Absolutely.
these large scale farms that are monocultures, and they have Roundup Ready, which is glyphosate's the active ingredient Roundup. And it doesn't hurt the plant, it only hurts the other plants, and it's genetically engineered to do that, and it's not natural. And basically it kills things too, like invertebrates. It kills, you know, bees and butterflies and other invertebrates that are beneficial to the plants, and it creates a sterile environment. So it's not healthy. And that's why it's not allowed on organic produce.
Right. So in the holistic community, especially with people that are more spiritually minded, there's a lot of talk of the fractal universe. And so in fractal, you know, fractal is a mathematical concept. And when you plot the fractal, you have what's called the Mandelbrot set, right? And as you cycle the same calculations over and over, all these iterations of a fractal, it's noticed that the Mandelbrot set never changes. You get the same representation as deep as you go, as deep as you zoom in, or as far as you zoom out. Right. And so we have that same concept. So we were talking about the human body being an interconnected system. Right. And so it's the same in ecology, in nature. Right. So all of these organisms
Absolutely.
co-create the biodiversity.
Yeah, sure.
Exactly.
Pull out the
And
chief predator like the wolves, which were over exterminated nearly in the US, and the whole ecosystem goes out of balance from the Alps all the way down. Same thing with the ocean, same thing with everything in the world, whether it's even the CO2 levels in the atmosphere, right? Everything's interconnected.
Exactly. And so the more we zoom in or the more we zoom out, we experience very similar characteristics, especially in terms of the balance, right? So like in human beings, if you took out my thyroid, I would start to experience a condition known as hypothyroidism, right? Because my body's out of balance. And so in the same way, you know, you kill the microbes in the soil, then there's going to be ramifications for that. And now that creates a condition where, yeah, it's very beneficial for the companies that are selling the products that are required to micromanage all of these repercussions as a result of spraying the soil. But for humans, unfortunately, it's not good for us. And so what I'm getting at here, because I love how we can really talk at length about things, and I know that we'll talk in the future more, but what I'm getting at here is that even the organic, even the ones with the little cute little USDA organic label, even those are susceptible to trace amounts of these herbicides. Sure. So exactly.
Not so only drift too, but you know, unethical, you know, sourcing and cheap methods, and all of a sudden very little oversight. The USDA organic program is gigantic. They don't have enough, you know, third-party verification.
Exactly. And that's what I love about your background and your role in Live Ultimate, because you have that knowledge. And so that way you have the right mentality in knowing what to look for.
It's our responsibility as a company. We're giving this product to the world, including our families, my mom and dad, my nephews, my girlfriend's family, everyone I know and love takes these products. And I wouldn't have a good heart in creating them or sharing them if I didn't have annual third-party test reports, nutritional data backed up, and just sourcing. We go deep into the sourcing, like you were talking about with music and with engineering. You got to go as deep as possible, which means visiting the farms eventually, which means we're always talking to the partners. They're coming on our podcast. Jeff Chilton is our mushroom expert, you know, and, you know, we can go as deep as we want to go with him, because there's, you know, 5,000 years of, you know, use in China and in Russia and Japan and Europe with mushrooms, and a lot of historical medical use of it. So that's incredible. So the mushrooms were kind of,
Yeah. So to close that thought though, just because it has and if I'm buying something that has an USDA organic label, I'm gonna choose the third-party tested products before anything else, because that gives me the guarantee, right?
Awesome.
And it's also important to be able to learn, you know, for consumers to be able to understand how to read the certificate of analysis that comes from the third-party testing.
First, reading labels, because a lot of people are just even, you know, there's a certain type of person we all know. And I think you and I are those people that turn around every single thing in the grocery store. We're looking at the sugar, we're looking at the calories, we're looking at everything, fiber, we're looking at vitamin content, we're looking at other ingredients. We're looking at where it's made. We're looking at packaging. We're literally like investigators that are scrutinizing. I just did a call yesterday with an ambassador about how to do product comparisons. We're creating an easy chart with columns like, is it organic? Is it vegan? Does it have other ingredients? Is it third-party tested? You know, what type of mushroom part does it use? You know,
Exactly. Very important.
Yeah, questions
Very,
to
very
ask. But
important.
some people are intimidated because they don't know where to start. You just start anywhere, and it's going to be like going on a journey. You can go as deep as you want, but it could just be by starting of, you know, go on YouTube and watch a video about reading a label. Go in your grocery store and just start looking, reading, you know, and you're going to start learning. You don't need to be an expert. Everyone can be a botanist or an engineer, I believe, by just taking that first step and just not being afraid. And that's what I encourage people. Do your own research and just go to DuckDuckGo, because I'm trying to get away from saying go to Google. Go to DuckDuckGo and you can, you know, look up anything you want to look up in the world.
Yeah, and actually on that topic, the best one that I found in terms of, so there's a browser called Brave. So instead of using Google Chrome, because that's a thing, a lot of people, they choose a search engine within Google Chrome. Like I said, I have trust issues. I don't rock with that. So what I do is I have Brave, which is the browser, and then the search engine is called Quant, and I believe it's spelled with a W, so KWANT, and that's going to be your best way to search, and then not have all of these kind of like
data collected on you, right? Yeah.
Well, there's probably some data collected, but at least information isn't being withheld as blatantly.
Censorship. Yeah.
Yeah, and
absolutely, especially in certain countries.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So
we still have censorship issues here in the U.S. though.
Yeah.
That's a whole other podcast.
Yeah, see, that's the thing. I mean, we could talk about a million things. So,
well, you know, if you don't have a hard stop in 8 minutes, because I know I don't have a hard stop unless someone comes into my office, but I know there's a couple more topics. Are you ready to kind of go through like a quick quick question answer session here?
Yeah, I don't have a hard stop, so we're good. But now, so the reason that the Ultimate Shrooms, though, let's go back to the
let's go back.
The Live Ultimate product. The reason that the Ultimate Shrooms are so great, there's I hear a lot of people talking about how they feel energized, which that definitely is a characteristic. You got cordyceps in there. Chaga is going to give you a little bit of that. Like that adaptogenic feel. There's reishi in there, and then there's lion's mane, which is more of like a brain booster, like a good nootropic, right? Which is just like a brain stimulating herb or compound. But I really love the mushrooms for immune support. So and we've talked about the beta glucans in there. So that's one thing that is really beneficial to the immune system. And there's also what's called glycoproteins, and the glycoproteins also help with what's called like the cell-mediated immune response. So the mushrooms give our cells a really a little bit of an enhancement in terms of how to protect us from like some sort of foreign invader, or like some sort of like let's say malicious, foreign object, right? Like some kind of pathogenic.
Mushrooms are not a plant or an animal. They're in the fungi kingdom. They have unique genes that get expressed in animals, us, when we eat them. But people think of them as a vegetable because they're on their pizza, or their soup. So the first thing we need to do is educate that this is a very unique superfood, not only good for energy and fertility, which is what Chinese used it for: longevity, fertility, immune support, brain activity, like we talked about, but it's also good for stress, for mood, for blood sugar, blood pressure, cholesterol. Basically, it helps your body. As you said, it goes in and intermediates and just helps with so many interesting compounds that you are not going to find anywhere else on the earth, except for in rare cases in some bacterias and oats and things. There are some beta glucans, but the beta glucan values in mushrooms are through the roof. They're like 50 to 60% by volume. And there's other acids formed that are very important for a full spectrum effect, which are what our fruiting bodies do, is full spectrum medicinal activity. So I think it's really cool that they're not a plant or an animal. They're in their own kingdom, and they've done genome mapping on reishi, and it has a couple thousand genes. I think it has 2,000 genes in it, and they're just starting to understand. The Chinese have been studying it for 5,000 years, but have a lot of case analysis. But medicine is still, science is catching up to what the potential of mushrooms are. They're used in cancer treatments. They're used in so many things, and it's just fascinating to me. I think that, and a lot of our ambassadors have a saying that we feel like mushrooms are here to heal the world, starting by healing us, because even the mycelium can be used to build, the chitin in the mycelium can be used to build houses and walls, and they're hopefully going to use it for 3D printing on Mars. So it's crazy.
Yeah,
there's
a lot
clothing. I mean, yeah.
There's definitely a lot of applications. Yeah, and of course, you have Paul Chilton, who's very involved in that, and then you also have Paul Stamets. Thank you. Yeah, I always think of him as the
Jeff
author
Chilton, the two big guys.
Yeah.
Shout out to Jeff.
Oh, it's Jeff Chilton, right? Okay, I called him
Jeff
Paul Chilton. My bad. Yeah, so I mixed them up. Yeah, my bad. I always think of Paul Stamets as the author of Mycelium Running. That's one of his books, and he talks about this idea of the mushrooms being able to heal the planet.
The mycelium are like an internet. Yeah.
Exactly, and and of course the documentary as well.
Fantastic fungi.
Fantastic fungi. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And actually I saw that in Miami Beach. It was great.
Cool.
There was like an independent theater there.
Yep. Cinema, I think, had it.
Yeah,
yep.
That's what it was. And I got to see one of the showings there, and
that's cool.
And that movie blew me away. That's a really great movie. And Paul Stamets, just as a scientist and stuff, I have great respect for him, for sure.
Super inspirational guy.
Yeah, and so great for immune support, and that's basically one of my main immune supporting supplements at the moment. Outside of things like whole food vitamin C, which is included also in the elixir, some elderberry. I have a really great supplement with elderberry that also has like orange peel and added vitamin C. There's a lot to it, and these days that's been helping me out a lot with my sinuses too. Like elderberry is one that I very much focus on. So anyway, but yeah, I mean, Ultimate Shrooms are my favorite Live Ultimate supplement.
Awesome. Thanks, Stefano, for that segment there on Ultimate Shrooms. I think that's a great one for us to go over as scientists. Let's go into the additional topics now, because I think we covered most of my questions I usually ask for Wellness Wednesday. We didn't dive super deep into the ambassador aspect of what it's like to be part of our family, and training with us, and the movement, the tribe, also the business opportunity. We'll cover that in future podcasts, but I kind of want to go into these additional topics now. So let's go through the list really quick and see how many we can get through. We have that you and I are forming a Live Ultimate Science Advisory Board.
Absolutely.
That's looking into the products very deeply, and the sourcing and future product development, and just also doing the deep research for training, including things like heavy metals, third-party lab reports. We had a recent call with Dr. Christian Gonzalez a couple months ago. We got to speak to him personally, you and I, and he's one of our heroes. We'll get into that in a second. And then I just want to talk about, if we have a little bit of time at the end, some of your nutrition hacks. I know one of mine is L-theanine, as well as mushrooms. We already talked about mushroom science, so we can skip that topic. If we have time, non-toxic lifestyle tips from Stefano and coaches you align with. But let's start with the LU Science Advisory Board. What's the goal of that?
Yeah, I mean, the goal of that is to be our own internal regulatory agency, basically. So it's always been like the quality of the products has always been so important to me. And I've always wanted to participate in making sure that quality remains over the years as the company grows, and as the product line grows as well. And so, so forming a scientific advisory board to me is a really important step forward to definitely ensure our customers that the quality of the product's not going to change. And then, as well as one of the things that I'd love to do is to suggest over time enhancements to our existing formulas. So, and then on top of that, to be able to educate, because I don't think everybody needs to have, a biochemistry degree, any type of engineering or any kind of biomedical degree in order to understand these products. But in terms of educating the ambassadors, it's important for the communication of what's in the products and their benefits because
Back. Sorry about that.
Hey,
I
welcome
had
back.
to use a bathroom so bad. I'm drinking all this turmeric golden milk tea and drinking chaga and a couple other interesting ingredients. But I'm back, and I don't know about you, but these podcasts, you got to get a bath.
Yeah, it's all good. And you're gonna edit this anyway, so you're gonna have all the segments that you can. Do you want me to go over the Science Advisory Board again?
Yeah, let's just quickly talk about like what the big goals are for this.
Okay, yeah. So the main goal is to ensure that product quality is uncompromising, as we have uncompromising standards, right? But yeah, exactly. So it's really getting it's gathering and documenting all of the details about the products, and then all of the details about let's say common issues with plant-based products, right? Because we know that plant-based products are still susceptible. Just because it's plant-based does not mean it's healthy. We know that organic products are still susceptible to the glyphosate, and we also know that plants are susceptible to absorbing heavy metals. So if the soil health isn't good of where it's being grown, then you're going to see higher levels of especially heavy metals. Plants, especially like greens, things like that, they have this affinity for heavy metals, and that's not a good thing. And especially if we're giving a supplement out there to the masses, then all of those levels have to be held within safe guidelines. And another thing to understand is that the guidelines themselves are always going to change, and we also need to develop an understanding as a collective in Live Ultimate that sometimes those guidelines are set arbitrarily. And so
there's different guidelines for the federal government than what other experts who are, like Dr. Christian Gonzalez, who is a
integrative oncologist.
So he works with cancer patients. He has a very deep, holistic, and naturopathic understanding of heavy metals versus what the U.S. EPA or FDA have they have recommendations, but there's very little laws on the book just for arsenic, I believe. There's recommendations for lead, mercury, arsenic has a law for water, but not for food. And then the cadmium is the last one. Those are the 4 big heavy metals. But I mean, as long as we're talking about heavy metals, like a quick aside from some of the research I've done is that, they're natural parts of the earth and they're in all foods.
Absolutely.
And there are good heavy metals. And I don't like to say good or bad, but like we know zinc is a heavy metal that has a positive effect on the body as long as it's in the right amounts. We know that mercury can have a harmful effect on especially developing fetuses and young children, and the brain and reproductive system, nervous systems. But overall, heavy metals aren't good or bad. They just need to be understood as part of the conversation, and that all superfoods absorb heavy metals for the most part. Coffee, wine has a lot of heavy metals if you don't have that third-party testing. That was something I didn't know until recently. Rice picks up a huge amount of arsenic.
Rice is a big one. Yeah, rice.
Chocolate picks up a huge amount of lead. Mushrooms can pick up heavy metals, but what we have found is that the ones grown on organic farms, we can control the substrate better. And the ones that are, and they have very low amounts, but the ones that are wild collected, in the case of chaga and turkey tail, from the forest, those are growing on decaying matter that is not something we can control, except for the sense that our permitted collection, wild crafting, which is ethically harvesting a wild plant, chaga cannot be grown on a farm. Turkey tail can, and we were told by our expert that we are moving into organic turkey tail farm production in 2021, which is going to lower our heavy metals even lower. The only reason our heavy metals are high and they're not high in a bad, Dr. G told us we're not egregious. A lot of companies are having to do annual reports and having to check their sourcing. And what we found was that the chaga, which is wild crafted in Russia, in Kamchatka Peninsula, which is a wilderness area by Siberia, it's growing on, it can only grow on trees. It can't grow on farms. It grows on dying birch trees, and you cannot farm it. It's impossible. That one does pick up a little higher levels of heavy metals, But you just have to remember then, okay, so if I'm going to take my shrooms, maybe I should reduce my amount of rice, or maybe I should reduce my amount of coffee, wine, chocolate, other superfoods, like even, I mean, do you have any other examples of, you know, case studies and things that you've seen in the industry? That's what I've kind of seen, is that you just need to, you know what you're ingesting, because everyone ingests heavy metals every day. If you eat rice
Yeah.
nonstop, you're getting huge amounts of arsenic and you don't even know it, or brown rice syrup, or Rice Krispie treats, everything. It's a big hidden thing that Dr. G kind of told us about.
Yeah, well, you know, you hit all the heavy hitters. I mean, I think even, let's see, in terms of heavy metals, I know, like, you know, something like spinach as well. That's going to be one that is known for absorbing lots of lead. And yeah, I mean, look, this is
probably longer lived things too, right?
Yeah, and this is the kind of wormhole conversation that you and I are going to have, and hopefully others that we can, you know, select to join in the future, where we have these conversations and we get down to the nitty gritty. And then any ambassadors who they don't necessarily want to think about that, and they don't have to. Everybody doesn't have to think about this. I think they just need reliable sources in order to have their information. And you and I, for the short term, and anybody else that joins, are going to be that reliable source, because it's important that every ambassador.
101. Yeah, 101, because, you know, there's parts per million and parts per billion. The calculations are very intense. It is not clear, and packaging doesn't show heavy metals listings ever. But there is Prop 65 from the state of California. For those that don't know, that's a very rigorous standard from only the state of California. It's only for products sold in California require that labeling. And there's loopholes to not be included in that program, by the way.
Exactly.
You know, there's no other federal standards for protection of consumers except for you doing your own research. Ask the company for the COA. But when you get the COA, it's not that easy, because it might be parts per million, or it might be some milligram per kilogram or something, conversion, you know, practice. And that's where you need someone kind of help you. And then also, okay, well, do you know that it's based on dosage too? Like Ultimate Shrooms is one of the most powerful strength formulas. It's 3,000 milligrams, which is 3 grams. It's double or triple in normal serving size. Ultimate Elixir is 10 grams. So if you took a normal mushroom formula, it would be about 1,000 milligrams. If you take ours, it's 3 times that. So of course, it's going to have 3 times the amount too. Sometimes, not always, but you have to take dosage size into consideration. You have to also have to take age of the person, background of the person, their health history, if they're pregnant, if it's a woman planning to get, you know, pregnant, or pregnant already, or having nurse breastfeeding, young children, huge conversation. They should not. We don't know enough about a lot of these things for young children. That's why young children are eating baby food. You know, they can wait till they're 5 or 6 to start taking these beautiful adaptogenic and tonifying things. But yeah, I mean, I think that it's a scary conversation for a lot of people, but it shouldn't be, because it's part of our earth. And there's like 20 some heavy metals out there, and only 4 can have like really toxic effects in the body. And those are the 4 we talked about.
Right, exactly. So as a science advisory board, what we're going to do is make sure to always field the changing data, the changing information, the studies, et cetera, and be able to process that and deliver that to the rest of the ambassadors in a way that they can communicate it to their customers. Because ultimately,
like a 1-pager.
Well, yeah, and check this out. You know, I mean, one thing that's really
even though the conversation is like a 1,000-pager, but we need to boil it down to 1 page. That's what the challenging thing is for the science advisory board.
Absolutely. And here's the thing, you know, one huge issue for me is in any network marketing company is the ambassador or whatever representative, the distributor, not knowing what they're talking about, not knowing their products.
Oh yeah, and misinformation.
And we're in the type of we're in the type of space where, you know, that messaging is going to be very crucial. You know, I mean, the last thing that we want is to create more issues for people as a result of taking their product or creating false expectations. So, you know, oh, well, you know, saying, oh, well, you have a problem with this. Well, here, I take the elixir and it works for me. And then just expecting that it works for them without any further questioning, you know, and so
like blindly just taking
integrity
it's going to help with
and responsibility. You know, integrity and responsibility is going to be the biggest part of that. And then also, you know, hopefully along the process, educating not only our ambassadors, but being the kind of company that is a force for good within the entire industry.
Absolutely.
To help
a mindful
educate.
movement. Yep,
Exactly. And
to,
to have, I'd love to
we're
like
more
establish
than
a blog, you know?
we're more than a company. We're more than a brand. We're a lifestyle, and we're a mentality. We really have this really beautiful tribe of people that are all ages, all backgrounds, all nationalities, and we are throughout the U.S., soon to be the globe. And Live Ultimate's like a gateway to like waking up to health, but also entrepreneurial life, and also, you know, relationships, because oh my God, the friendships we've made through Live Ultimate. We have 1,500 ambassadors right now, but someday we're going to have 10,000, 100,000. But I already have 1,500 new friends. And I also have some incredibly close friends. My girlfriend I met through Live Ultimate, and, you know, so many, you know, best friends, and just people that I collaborate with, that I support, that I'm learning from every day. So many different things, from yoga, like you said, to other things. Like we got Coach Jeremy, who's always teaching about mentality and growth.
That's right.
You know, we got some amazing ambassadors that are super diverse. A lot of awesome Russian ambassadors, Latin American ambassadors, people from all over the world and US. So it's so cool. And it's so much more than just a brand. We're not just some, you know, brand that's selling products. We're changing lives. Okay, so we're moving through now the Christian G and heavy metal section, and
we kind of covered that, right?
Yeah,
we talked a little bit about
we
it.
talked a little about Christian, and is it Dr. Christian G on Instagram for those that want to follow him?
He goes, I don't remember. People change their names or whatever, but you can check out his podcast. I think more importantly, his podcast is really what's effective.
Yeah.
And
what's his podcast called again?
And so the podcast is Heal Thyself. So Heal, ThySelf. And I don't know
YouTube if it's primarily, but probably other places.
It's all the platforms. Typically people that have podcasts like that, they have them on all platforms. The cool thing about YouTube is that you can, you know, watch him talking as opposed to just being audio. And, you know, early on, he was one of the first podcasts that I found where he would, you know, he would interview doctors. He would have like a knowledge bomb segment. So he would talk about a particular, particular fact about health, or about, you know, a lifestyle practice that might be good, you know, might be good. He reviews products as well. And that's how we got involved, because he reviewed our product. And he, you know, we were able to follow up with him and establish what his highest standards of quality are, because he's definitely a great resource in the wellness space.
His advice. Yeah, we sought his advice. Some companies outright stonewalled him and would not give him the information they were seeking, which is third-party reports on pesticides.
Yeah, very simple.
On pesticides and heavy metals. He wanted two things: a third-party report, or a COA, on heavy metals and on pesticides. Two separate reports. We gave it to him the same day. I actually responded to him personally, to his assistant. The same day he requested them. He sought them from 61 companies. I think he got about 30 companies sent him the information, and some outright said no, and then some outright didn't respond. Some he messaged 10 times, they never responded. Others said, we're not giving you that. It's private information.
It's proprietary. Yeah, that is the biggest.
Or private, or they just don't want to share it, but it's not private. It's something that the consumer has the right to know.
Well, and they won't share their practices with you, but they'll sure take your money, you know? So that's just not fair.
And
that's not a fair exchange.
On that list. There were some heavy hitters on that list that didn't respond, or that stonewalled him. So, I mean, we don't need to trash any companies, but you can go on YouTube, watch Dr. Christian's review of green products. And Live Ultimate, you know, he said that our metal levels were too high in that report. Our pesticides are perfect, but our heavy metals, in particular, it was just one heavy metal, arsenic, which we have a very close eye on, which your body can pass quickly, by the way, and remove with things like chlorella from the elixir, and from reishi and the other things that detoxify your body, and water even. It doesn't stick as much as other heavy metals, is my understanding. But he also he appreciated so much that we reached out and cared, because not only did we respond right away when he said that, he said Live Ultimate responded right away and gave me everything. Super transparent company. I love their product because it has such amazing formula. That's what he mentioned. Your formula is incredible. Your packaging is incredible. Your education is incredible. We talk about what a fruiting body mushroom is versus a mycelium. We talk about our guarantee of beta glucan, third-party testing on the back of our packaging, on our sourcing, and how to reach out to us. And you just said, the one thing is to work on your arsenic level, and that does fluctuate, and we're working on that sourcing for 2021. We have that as our number one objective, is fair trade and heavy metal certified products that are, making sure that whatever it could be that has a slightly elevated level. And remember, arsenic is something that's commonly found in rice and other compounds that you eat every day, foods. How do we get that as low as possible? And at the same time, remembering that our elixir is a big formula. You're not taking it 3 times a day. You're taking it once a day in the morning. It's
Yeah,
10
you should
grams.
only take it once a day at most.
You can fast and take it multiple times, but just be aware that you're going to need to detoxify it too. With a lot of water. And the good news is the mercury was like 20 times below the federal level. The lead was in acceptable levels, and the cadmium was super, super low too. So it's really just one, arsenic is the one we're looking at, and very closely, but it's not something that's scary. He said it's not egregious.
Right.
He said just do a good job in, continuing to push the bar and try to get it even lower than you have it already, and just be aware that it's a little high. And thank you for reaching out, because that means so much. He literally put on his Instagram story, these guys get it. And it was you and I that wanted to make this happen because we care.
Right.
We could have just forgotten about it and no one would ever care because there's always so much else going on. But no, we want to, have the best product on earth.
Well, yeah, and yeah, to add to that, he definitely mentioned that even though the reason that he didn't classify the elixir as like one of the top formulas that he was reviewing was just because it was only based on his standard, but it wasn't because it was necessarily unhealthy or anything like that. He just would like to see that arsenic level drop to
Sure.
To below the California standard. But the issue here was also that our lab promised us that we were following the California standard. So it wasn't a situation where we were knowingly getting
well, for clarification,
toxic product.
We're a small company still, and it's based on the amount of employees, whether you have to participate in that program or not. We have less than 10 employees for our company. But it doesn't matter. We still take Prop 65 1,000% seriously. It's there for a reason. Some litigators in California have said it's a little bit overly, it's got too much teeth in it, because literally lawyers are having a field day with processing lawsuits against companies, and I guess they're trying to tighten that program because it came in a little bit, with good intentions, but not with the tightest amount of, best, let's say that it needs a little tweaking to make it fair, because it's very hard to fall in line with that. Starbucks and Whole Foods have Prop 65 on every single nutritional product that contains heavy metals. The parking lot for Whole Foods has a Prop 65 warning sign on it when you enter Whole Foods in California. True story, in Pasadena when I was out there a year or two ago. Says Prop 65 when you're entering the property in the parking lot. Which Prop 65 basically says this product may contain substances known to cause birth defects or cancer. Now, Dr. Christian may cause. Dr. Christian is an oncologist. He works with cancer patients, so this is a very sensitive topic to him. California has strict air standards, strict food standards, but Starbucks on every single bag of coffee almost has to put a Prop 65 warning label. And if you go to Whole Foods in California and you flip over any of the bottles, they usually put it on the bottom of the bottle so the consumer doesn't see it. That's a little dirty secret. And you got to look on all the sides of the packaging. It's required for every single nutritional supplement in California to have a Prop 65 warning label, even if it doesn't exceed Prop 65 standards. That's a true story, because you can have perfectly clean product and you still, if you're sold in California, you have to put a Prop 65. This is my understanding for things like coffee, chocolate, superfoods. Those are the things, rice, that we know pick up these heavy metals really heavily. Not all. Again, you can control some things. It's a very tricky conversation. Wild crafted things, as again, tend to have more heavy metals. But So I mean, heavy metals, I think we kind of beat that one to death, right? Is there anything you want to add?
Well, yeah,
I want to get into your lifestyle tips too.
Yeah, well, one other thing I wanted to say is that, you know, when he did post after our call, he posted on his Instagram story saying that he's optimistic that we're actually going to be the best formula moving forward when he does another greens review, and that we're going to stay in touch. And, you know, going back to the Science Advisory Board, one thing that I would like to do, you know, accomplish with you, is to slowly start to make tweaks to our formula to make sure to mitigate any issues with
Yep.
like, you know,
we're going to need COAs on every single ingredient, because we have COAs on all of our mushrooms because we work very closely with our mushroom expert. But when it comes to the superfoods and the elixir, the lab we work with owns the relationship. So they haven't provided us with the individual COAs. That's a little bit of deeper knowledge, but you know, we do have COAs on the finished product. So now it's my responsibility as the director of product development and the LU Science Advisory Board to figure out with the lab which ingredient has high arsenic in the case of the elixir. Again, it's not dangerous levels, but which one has the highest level? Let's find a better source. You know, if it's the moringa, I'm just going to say, I don't think it's the moringa, but let's say it's a moringa.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
Okay, let's find. Yeah, it's probably not the moringa, but anyways.
But yeah, identifying whatever ingredient it is, and
getting the level lower, getting it lower. That's our goal. We're not going to let it go up. You know, we're going to get it lower every year.
Yeah, and that's
mandate,
right. And one thing, you know, that's so important for me is to play a role in holding the company accountable. Because as much as I love Mark and Rod and you know, even you and everybody in the company, I'm not going to support a crappy product. I will never do that.
Or people that don't like want to dig deep, you know, and
right.
brush it away. We don't want to brush it away.
I am terrible at lying through my teeth. I can't do it. Definitely not for the sake of making money. I think that's bullshit. And that's kind of what creates some of the big issues that we have, especially in terms of, you know, large public health crises. So
let's talk about Hershey's. You know, I don't want to trash any company, but oh my God, there's been some companies in the news for heavy metal levels, from muscle milk to Hershey's. And, you know, we don't need to go down that road any further, but you can just do your own research on that.
Right. And you know, there's no malicious intent, right? I stopped. I think it can be very stressful to establish this worldview where you feel like everybody's out to get you, because that happens. And that happens sometimes as a result of finding out new information, right? We've all watched that one documentary that was just like shattered our worldview.
Sure.
And you know, it can be stressful. And so there's no malicious intent. The thing is that we are all operating within the free market, you know, and you know, free enterprise. And these companies have also a fiduciary responsibility to investors. Their projects need to finish on schedule, on time.
Sure. Yeah,
that's how you cut corners, because that's called getting it done no matter what. So these companies are very good at doing that. Unfortunately, there are some ramifications in terms of the quality of their product, but they are getting their project finished and moving on to the next thing.
Well, I think, you know, just to kind of tie this one, you know, is tied, you know, with a little bow at the end, is our mission statement is with uncompromising standards and the belief that we must continuously evolve. Live Ultimate creates next level, best in class, all natural wellness and beauty products that improve your, you know, overall health, well-being, vitality, and appearance. So the beginning of that, uncompromising standards and the belief we must continuously evolve. If we aren't digging deep and if we aren't improving every year, we aren't evolving. If we don't seek to keep being a student and keep learning and not think we know it all and just, you know, shut things down, like lawyers just shut things down. They don't want to talk to you. Scientists, we want to study. So not to pick on lawyers, but we're going to keep digging deep. Stefano and I are scientists to the core, and so is the Live Ultimate team, cares, and they want to evolve. So we're going to keep evolving, and we have a beautiful product. More products are coming this year, by the way. So that's some exciting things. So let's move on to one thing I really enjoy, because I think we only have a couple minutes left. But one thing I really enjoy about following your Instagram, which is Stefano Has Your Back, is that you have non-toxic. Yeah, you have non-toxic lifestyle tips. And,
absolutely.
And you also feature a lot of inspirational things that make you kind of think twice about the way you might be thinking or even living. But I love your lifestyle tips. So your non-toxic ones. So do you have a couple of tips for us, and any other things you want to share just that you have found helpful to you?
Yeah, absolutely. So first and foremost, it's keeping it as simple as possible, living as simple of a life as possible. That's actually why I have this view of a farm behind me, because I often, like, make like a background of my screen like this, just because, first of all, I appreciate the simplicity that that nature has. So nature is very complex, but it's very simple at the same time. In the fact that a fruit grows on the tree. Like, the tree doesn't have to sit there and go to like fruit growing school or something and overcomplicate the process. It just happens, and it's there, and we get to enjoy it. So as a result of just having a lot of how should I say it, like a huge interest in so many topics and the ability to dig really deep, I also have the tendency to overcomplicate things. So one huge like life principle that I've established is just to keep my life as simple as possible, based on, or just not based on, but like the way that I live, the way that I eat, all of that, just keeping it simple, and reminding those, being kind of like a force of influence for those who are who tend to overcomplicate health, right? Because some people want to be healthy, but then it becomes a very stressful experience, and they have a really bad relationship to food. If they can't meet their standards, they stress out, and stress is actually it works against all of the good work that we do to eat well. So as a result, so in terms of non-toxic living, I like to use very simple and what's it called, like benign and like gentle soaps, for instance. So anything that I put, anything that I put on my skin, and any like any cleaners that I use, they're all going to be of like the non-toxic variety, which are typically like mineral, like you said, they're like some sort of plant-based mineral soaps. So one of the soaps that I use basically for every application, whether it's cleaning the countertop or washing my hands in the bathroom, is called Branch Basics. And that's a company that's devoted themselves to creating a really quality non-toxic product. And I find it interesting that it has applications all throughout the house. So it based on the way that you dilute it. So you buy a
kind of like Dr. Bronner's.
And Dr. Bronner's is another company that I love.
All-purpose. I have his all-purpose one next to my sink. It's like a big jug. I can use it for anything in the house almost.
Absolutely. And so
I love that.
That's number one, because our skin absorbs some of those toxic compounds. And not only that, soaps that have like particular, their soaps are known for being very astringent. Like, so if you're using Dawn soap, like in the kitchen, Dawn soap is formulated to break down oils, right? So that way you can
dry you out.
And so that actually, so you have oils on your skin as well, and so if you're making skin to skin contact with that soap, it's gonna dry out your hands. And actually, as a result of the public health crisis that we experienced last year and are kind of still working through, a lot of people would overwash their hands, and they were using a lot of these more synthetic chemical soaps, like things like bile. And so they're very harsh, and you would see, there's pictures out there of people's hands like breaking out, or the skin wearing down and being, like they look like they're injured hands. So that's an issue. That's an issue that I've been able to correct very easily. Also, my skin is more sensitive as a result of taking Accutane. So I'm very sensitive to when a soap like really dries out my skin or makes it feel like just less than normal,
and then we have a skin defense, by the way, and the oil is part of it. We also have an immune, system as part of our skin, that we have beta glucans even boost our skin defense, and they're in our skincare products and are in the ultimate.
That's right.
But your skin has a barrier defense mechanism. It's very complex. So you want the oils, you want the natural oils. That's why you have to pick something gentle.
Right.
And that has things like aloe and green tea in it,
That's right. And I actually, let me see if I have one here. Oh, I don't have it on me, but so at work, or, even around the house, sometimes I still do use hand sanitizer, but I use an alcohol-free hand sanitizer, because alcohol also strips oils. And that's something that is very important to me, because like at work and stuff like that, I like to use it at my desk, especially because others at work are like so paranoid, and as a result of my me like wearing the mask and like having the issues that I have with sinuses, I sneeze like 4 or 5 times a day. And so I think sneezing in an indoor environment, especially with people's concerns about getting sick, I want to make them feel better by using a hand sanitizer after I sneeze into my hands, things like that.